Hello again, I am Jim Bob. Welcome back to Big Bud Farm. And today is time for our silage sell-off. So I'm just making a couple of last minute adjustments to our setup over here. Bringing in some extra lighting because as you can see it's getting a little bit late into the day. And this job is going to take a good 2-3 hours, I would imagine, at least. Maybe even longer than that. So bringing in an extra lighting trailer. Let's drop that just there. And we'll park the pickup just here. So I've been thinking about this all week and I'm not convinced I'm going to be able to move this material up here quickly enough to be able to keep this front area fully stocked. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to lease out some more conveyors, and we're going to kind of replicate this front system here along the side. Now the conveyors should pull silage through this sidewall and then help feed it forward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have conveyors on the side here pulling silage through the side, running down here and then unloading into this area here. So we should keep this area fully loaded, and it will take a bit of pressure off us having to move silage from all the way back here all the way up here before this starts to run a little bit too low. So let's lease some more belts. So we're going to need a few of these, so we'll lease four of these. So we're going to need at least, I think, 3 of these, and 1 of these as well. There we go. So next step is to go and collect all of those and bring them back to the farm, or bring them back to the BGA. So first off, let's lower this bed here. I need to grab the toolbox because I want to put some better wheels on our voucher here. So we'll switch those over to wide tyres. There we go, that'll give us a little bit better grip. And we're going to leave the toolbox here so it doesn't bounce around all over the place. So there we go, bed is up. Let's go grab some belts. So to save a little bit of time, I've reset all of the belts here to our reset point, which is, as you can see, very close to the BGA. It saves having to drive all the way over to the store to collect each belt individually. So now we can start loading these down to the BGA, get them all set up and in the right position. Okay, so this is the last of the 4 feeder belts. Let's get this dropped off and in place with the others. And for the rest of the belts we're going to need the Valtra, because the tow hitch option on the back of this is not compatible. So let's park that belt there and move the truck out of the way and park it up just there. Alright, so let's go get the rest of those belts. Okay, so we've brought all the belts around. We've got the feed belt just there, and then we've got these transportation belts here, and then the pickup belts just there. So this is the most important belt in some respects. This is the one that's going to keep our front area actually fed. So we need to get this on maximum height, and we're going to need to extend the reach on it a little bit as well. And let's get this in position. zoom out so we can see what we're doing. There we go. We're going to want to feed about here, I think. Somewhere about there. I think that's what we're going to want to do. So that looks to be about right, about centre. Okay, so the basic plan is that we're going to have these belts picking up at various different points along the side. So we should see these actually as soon as I get close to the silage. You should see these immediately start to pick up. And I want to have this in a couple of different locations. And there we go, you can see they're already starting to pick up. So we'll push that one right up against the wall like that. Get it nice and square. There we go. And now we'll do the same with another one of these belts as well. Okay, so we have our new sort of feeding system set up. Got this belt here that's going to feed into this area here, and I've tried to give this enough room so that I can actually pivot the belt and feed a wide area around here, because there's going to become a point where this is going to be unloading faster than these belts are taking. Once that hits 50,000 litres in there, it'll slow down to a trickle in terms of how fast it feeds. Whereas because we are feeding from all the way down here, we can feed at a nice uniform rate and fill any gaps that start to appear here, and also behind a little bit as well. So let's see where we're taking from. We're taking from around about here, and we're also taking in a couple of places from down here as well to help move this area of silage forward. We'll have a gap here where we'll be able to kind of push into this area, and then hopefully push into this area as well. And you can see that we have a slight trench that's formed from where I've been taking little bits of silage as I've been positioning the belts. And we have a spare belt there just in case. What I may do is bring that belt around the other side at some point in the future. I need to be really, really careful though. It's all down to now this belt here, the belt that's actually feeding into the tipper. If that stops unloading for any reason, then all of this, it will be for nothing, because we will get a break in the price and we will crash the market. So last thing we need to do is just get our spotlight set up for a bit of extra light so we can see what's going on. As you can see, it's just gone 7 o'clock, so it's starting to get dark. So let's bring this trailer to here. Let's try and pivot this light around a bit so I can see what's going on with the belt system. I need to be really careful that none of these belts get disturbed. You can already see, I think I've actually nudged one of these belts with the voucher slightly. So we'll make sure that that is rectified before we get started. There we go, that's a good place to park. Now I can pivot this around. Trying to find a good spot so I can check that the feed belts are loading. That'll do. Right, so last check on these belts here. Make sure that these are working correctly. Yeah, see, this one here is now out of position, so we'll give it that little pivot there to get it back into place. Yeah, that looks good. And this belt, we'll just slide that forward a little bit more. There we go. And the reason I've spaced the belts out like this is this gives us flexibility to be able to change this setup as the silage moves a bit as well. And here's what I mean about being able to pivot this. So you can see that we've got, you know, a pivotable area where we can feed in, and obviously we can extend or retract as well to fill in some of those gaps that will appear. So I think we're just about ready. So we have what, $1.07 million. The front belts are looking pretty secure, so let's get started. And I'm a little concerned that I'm going to need to make sure I get this the right direction. There we go. Alright, so our silage is moving. Let's see everything. These belts are feeding at a nice uniform rate at the moment. They will do until the shredder over there hits 50,000. It'll take a while for it to build up to that. Now we need to get this one unloading. There we go. And now if we pivot the belt slightly. And we can start filling that gap there. So we're playing kind of cat and mouse at the moment with the silage. And we will be until the shredder hits 50,000. Once the shredder hits 50,000, then it'll slow down. How quickly it takes from our bunker, which means that we'll be able to effectively move the silage from the back to the front with minimal fuss. But for now, I just need to kind of keep doing this, finding those little holes that keep popping up and filling them up as quick as I can. So there's going to be quite a lot of, you know, repositioning of this this belt I'm in right now, where I look for those gaps and then fill them up and see how our shredder's doing. Up to 10,000, 11,000, so we're getting there. But this is essentially going to be a very long, very drawn out process. So I'm going to skip ahead a bit and I will check in with you once we have a little bit more progress to show. So you can see those trenches that are starting to appear within the bunker. That's where the silage is being taken from our sort of side belts. That's okay, we can live with that. So we have a leveler at the back. We can correct those sort of trenches that are appearing without too much issue. The main thing at the moment is just to make sure that we're obviously feeding these belts at the front here. So as long as that keeps happening... Oh, we have a break. One of our belts isn't working properly. It's this one. There we go. That's something else we need to be wary of. We need to keep checking our belts. They are going to naturally move a little bit as the silage moves because they're pressed up against the silage wall or the bunker wall. So we need to make sure that we stay on top of that. And if these ones are moving, you can bet that we're going to have issues with our front belts potentially moving a little bit as well. So let me check in on these. Looking good here and here. Everything here seems to be working fine so far, and they're in good positions. We've got to be getting close to 50,000 now. 39,000. Okay. Well, everything else seems to be running relatively smoothly right now, so let's just wait for this to hit 50,000. We are almost at capacity within the shredder here. It's getting there. And as soon as it does, the feed into it is going to slow right down. There we go. See, we hit 50. And now this thing is just going to feed at a slower rate because that 50,000 litres is the total capacity that it holds. So if we hop up here, you can see they've taken quite a lot from the front here, but now we are feeding into this area faster than we are taking from it. So you can see these troughs are starting to get quite deep. That's fine. We have another break in our belt. It's wobbling a little bit more again. So we do have to keep an eye on that. Everything's running smoothly right now. These ones are obviously moving at a slightly slower rate because they're coming from further back. Everything's being taken as a primary feed from this belt here. So we move this over to here, a little bit more central now. Like that. Can spin it over a little bit more as well. Keep that a nice constant rate. Make sure that these front belts are fully fed. Here you can see a prime example of what I was talking about. We're actually building up this area of silage faster than it's being taken down. You can see that the height of the stack is actually getting bigger and thicker. So this is enabling us to effectively move our silage from the back to the front with minimal effort and faster than we are eating it up. It's a shame I can't change... Oh, I can change the point of view on the camera. I'd never even tried that before. Oh, we have a break in our belts again. Which one is it this time? It's this one again. This one, because it's pushed up against the wall, that tow hitch keeps playing up a little bit. So if we stretch the belt out like that, that'll enable us to pull this one back away from the wall a little bit. And hopefully that one won't keep moving now. Alright, we're at the halfway, well, say the halfway, we're at the half an hour point. We're a long way from halfway. But still keeping everything feeding through at a nice uniform rate. If we check our price, you can see it's still at $308. It's still one continuous unbroken stream of silage that's being shifted so far. It is taking a little while, and we knew that would be the case. But we are definitely making some good progress. So we have this big crater that's starting to open up in our bunker now, which means this belt is being a little bit too greedy. So what we need to do is just stop it from unloading. Push it forward a little bit like that. This belt that it's feeding into has been misbehaving all through all through this episode. I keep having to reposition it to make sure everything's running smoothly. But now we're going to basically focus on just these two belts at the back. So you're going to see this area is going to start to go down a lot quicker. And we shouldn't really see much, if anything, moving around here now. So we'll get this area sort of eaten into, and then we can get in there with our leveler. Really attack that area. Primarily, I'm hoping this belt's going to take more than this one. It seems to be the case. And looks like we're going to need to reposition this one a little bit. Oh yeah, definitely we are. Let's push it out a bit further as well. Try and fill that little hole there. There we go. See, it just keeps getting nudged for some reason. I don't know what's causing it to keep moving, but it keeps moving, and I don't know if it's the sheer amount of silage that's going through it, but hopefully it'll stay in position now. These belts are going to continue to spit out silage. This area is going to start to go down quite rapidly, hopefully. You can see it already deforming as it's pulled through the wall onto the belts. This area will remain as is, and then we can come in and we can start to fill this area back in, get this belt restarted, and even maybe then look at removing this belt and or changing its layout and actually having feed belts a little bit here maybe to come back into this area. We might not even need to reposition them at all. We might be fine just sticking with this setup that we have all the way through, and then just shoveling little bits forward where we need to with the either the wheel loader and bucket or the leveler. We check over here. These belts still seem to be positioned nicely. No real issues here. That's in a good spot still. That's still pretty much perfect. So these belts aren't moving, which is good. And you can see we're still at $308 per 1,000 litres of silage. So this is still one long continuous tip. We've been running for almost an hour. And so far it's been going very well indeed. Alright, we can see that there's definitely a big chasm opening up at the front of our pit now, which is great. So let's get in there a little bit. Try and move some of this silage. Might be easy to use the bucket on this actually. Yeah, I think it will. Let's move that out of the way. There we go. So now we can start attacking this mound that we have on the left side of our bunker and start dumping it over on the right side. go. So I'm going to keep on doing this to try and make sure that our side belts are getting fed as well. And see how we go from there. We're a little over an hour in, and we've made, what, let's see, 1.4, 140,000, I think, is that right? We're at 1.07. We're at 1.21, so yeah, about 140,000 we've made so far. I thought we'd make maybe 400,000. I've had guesses of around 500,000, and you know, one very optimistic viewer suggested that we were going to make $1 million. I somehow doubt that, but it'd be nice if we did, but I can't see us making $1 million off this. I think 500,000 is probably a bit more likely. I think my guess is going to be slightly conservative, maybe, but we'll see how we get on. We're now past the 2-hour mark. We're up to 1.32 million, still going as one continuous tip. And I've made some changes to the belt layout as well. So what we've got now is the main belt here being obviously fed from this point here. That's being fed from this belt, which is being fed from this pickup belt. And what I've got here is this belt unloading into this area, and that's doing so from this bit of silage here. And then I also have this belt and this belt drawing from the silage in here, feeding onto that belt, and that belt is unloading onto the ground there as well. So it's creating kind of a log jam here, where these two belts are unloading onto the floor, and that belt is picking it up and feeding it through onto here. So we're getting a nice continuous stream. We are excavating out of this kind of area here, trying to make sure that we still keep everything as full as we can up here. Obviously it's a little threadbare at the moment because I had to disconnect the belt system to actually get everything repositioned and in their new places. So I need to build this back up again quite quickly. But everything seems to be going really well so far. Not had any real issues. Let's just do a quick inspection of our selling belts, make sure that these are actually working properly, still in the right places. A little bit of lag there. That's still perfectly positioned at both angles there, that's fine. This belt is fine. This belt is fine, so we don't have to worry about these at all at the moment, it seems, which is good. And that one's still fine, and that one's still fine as well. So we can just keep, you know, dumping our grain, our silage into this area here, and these belts will feed nicely onto that to drop in there and sell everything. So we've made, let's see, mental mass time, 1.07, 250,000 so far, and we've still got, you know, a fair bit of silage to go, as you can see. But how much silage do we actually have left? Let's have a look. We're down to 756,000 litres. And we started on 1.6, so we've shifted around 900, almost 900,000 litres of silage, and that's gained us what, 250 grand. So yeah, we're on for around 400 to 500,000 in total, I would say, somewhere in that that kind of ballpark for our total cash amount. But we still have a lot of silage to move. Obviously, we have this large clump here that's not really doing much anymore. We need to start shoveling that in some way, shape or form. So there we go. That's your update check for the just past the 2-hour mark. 2.5 hours in now, and still an awful lot of silage left to go, as you can see. It's going to be a late episode today. It's going to be out later than normal. But as you can see, we've still got an awful lot of silage still to process. Still a long way off getting done yet. So apologies for it being slightly later than normal. But not a lot we can do about that, unfortunately. But yeah, there's your 2.5 hour update there. We're now over 3 hours into this job. Still one continuous tip. And you can see we still have the 308 price tag. And this new system of belts that I switched up a little while back is actually working really well. It's enabling me to clear out these areas really nicely. Keep a good continuous feed up to the front, and then I go in and attack it with a leveler, and then once it's a little bit smoother and easier to traverse, then I go in with this, the JCB, and use that big bucket to start filling in those holes that are being left. So we are moving this product up through the bunker in stages, while also making sure that it's going straight to the front at the same time as well. Not a huge amount left. Let's see how much we have actually got left. We're down to 405,000 litres. So we've shifted about 1.2 million litres so far. Still got 400,000 or so to go. So we're about 3/4 of the way through. So that means we're probably looking at around 4 hours in total as a time to get this job done. Let's just reposition that front conveyor. There we go. So as you can see, still got this nice big solid mound of silage here at the front. It's all working out really, really nicely. It's a slow process, but when you consider that it can take me 7 hours of harvesting to earn 400,000, and currently we're at 1.43, so we've made nearly 400,000 in 3 hours. It's definitely faster as a money-making process. So I'm going to carry on working away, and we'll check back in again in a little while. Just coming up now on the 3.5 hour mark, and this is all the silage we have left. It's almost all been positioned now. You can see these side belts. We've actually removed one of them because we don't need it anymore. Got that pile on the floor which is still being picked up and fed into this belt here. It's taking from these side pieces here as well. We've got pretty much everything we need, and we have the leveler on standby, ready now to just push the last little bits through. So this is pretty much it now. Just got to wait for this to be processed. We've got very little actual work left to do now, other than to just keep making sure that the silage gets through to the front. So I just need to reposition this belt slightly. Oh, and I got wedged. There we go. So we park about there. Fold the wheels back in again. Here we go. So yeah, this is where we are and what we look like about 3.5 hours in. Let's just have a quick look, see how much we've actually got left. Uh, 270,000 litres, so not long to go now. We're at the 4 hour, or just past the 4 hour mark now. You can see we're down to our last 100,000 litres being shuffled away. I've had to reposition these belts a couple of times where they've just kind of stopped picking up or not been picking up properly. And this is it. This is all we have left. All the stuff on the side has been picked. So it's literally just this big mound here. That's all that's left now. So I've been keeping an eye on it. I've got my voucher with a leveler ready to push things up. In fact, actually, let's just give this bit here at the back a little shove. There we go. So it's going down, and it's going down pretty quickly. You know, we don't have a huge amount left now, as you can see. This has been a real epic kind of task. But we've made some good money, as you can see. We started on just under 1.08. We're at 1.53 right now. So we've made over $500,000 doing this, which is fantastic. And we've got a contract job coming up soon on field 2 with sunflowers, which is probably going to get us another $500,000. So we are getting very, very close to having enough money to be able to buy field 1 outright. This has definitely been a challenge, and it's been, you know, quite a long, laborious job, but it's almost there now. So finally, after all that effort, all that work, we're inside the final 10,000 litres. You can see we've got less than 9 now, 8,500 litres to go. These last little bits just being fed and picked up by these belts. I'm just going to give this one a little tweak, if I can. Trying to be really careful that I don't disturb the belt behind it. That'll have to do. Hope that that gets picked up. It looks like it's going to make it. Inside 5,000 now. We're so close to finally being done with this job. It's been an epic chore. We finally managed to do it. I just want to get this last little bit here in the corner. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to manage it or not. Alright, change of plan. Let's try pivoting this belt like that. There we go, between the two of them. There we go, bunker silo is empty. Here we go. We're about to see just how much money we make. We're going to follow this last little bit of silage. This belt here is done. There goes that belt. We're clocking in at about 4 hours and 20 minutes right now. Here we go. The last little bit of silage. Oh, there we go. 495,465. I thought we made more than that, but that's how much we've made. So what's the price now? 210. Yeah, we definitely crashed the market a little bit there, but there we go. Our big Super Silage Sale is finally complete. Oh, what a task. 4 hours and 20 minutes to do that for $500,000. That's not bad when you consider how long it takes to earn that much in contract work, but yeah, that was definitely an epic chore. So, thanks for watching. I am Jim Bob, and I will catch you back on Big Bud Farm on Monday. No, Tuesday. I'll see you on Tuesday. Bye for now.